Hello, and welcome to Let's Go to the Library. I'm your host, Patrick Jones, Community Engagement Librarian at the Anoka County Library. I'm here with Katlin Heidgerken-Greece, who's a library associate at the Crooked Lake Library, and we're going to talk about summer reading. Katlin, can you tell parents and community members a little bit what are the primary elements of the Anoka County Library summer reading program?
Sure. So we have a couple of big, exciting parts to our summer reading program this year, and in the past, we're continuing a lot of those same things. So a couple of big things. First of all, there's a ton of programs happening at all of the Anoka County libraries this summer. So those programs are for all ages, and they're all free. So they range from things like big musical performances, comedy, jugglers, things like that, that will get kids out and exposed to different cultural performances that they may not otherwise be able to attend. And then they range all the way down to smaller sort of hands-on programs that really get kids interacting with different topics.
Okay.
So programs at all different kinds of libraries. Also, we have, we're trying to encourage kids to read over the summer.
What a wacky idea to do during the summer.
So one way that we're doing that is for every book that a kid reads, they can either write or draw something about their book.
Okay.
And then doing so will allow them to be entered into random prize drawings, which will happen every week at the different libraries.
Okay, excellent.
So, and then one other thing that's exciting that's happening at the libraries this summer is we're doing a read down for youth. So what that involves is kids being able to read down any finds that are on their library cards existing previously, so that they can have a fresh start at the library going into a new school year.
Excellent. A lot of parents may have done this when they were kids in a summer reading program. What would you say if they're coming into an Anoka County Library in 2016 for summer reading? Might just look a little different other than a lot more computers.
Right, so there are going to be things that look a lot different for kids this year versus kids in the past, and maybe those kids that are now parents. So programs that are happening at the library are on a wide range of different topics. So we're doing a lot of programs that focus on STEM and STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, and a lot of those programs have art added into them too.
Okay.
So they're not your traditional library programs like a book club or a Storytime always. They're things also that are like hands-on detective science, programs like that.
Now, you mentioned jugglers, and I know that the library does programs both in the libraries, but then also some of these big programs are off-site at Blaine High School, Coon Rapids High School, and the Bunker Hills Activity Center. What are some of the big program highlights that you say are coming up?
Right, so we have musical performances, people like Tenpenny Tunes. We also have storytellers, musical storytellers. Jack Pearson, Wendy's Wiggle, Jiggle, and Jam will be doing some performances. Sean Emery, I believe, and a whole lot of other people that we're really excited to host. So
parents can take their children to these big venues, but then they can also, you mentioned, go to the library for kind of smaller, more intimate events. You mentioned STEM. There's something like story walks. Could you explain what story walks are?
Sure. So a story walk is something where there's a picture book, but it's each page spread is put onto like signs, like yard signs that would be out on your lawn. And so the different libraries will have the stories set up in their outdoor space.
Okay.
So for example, at the Crooked Lake Library, it's something where you can walk along outside in our yard, take advantage of the nice sunny, beautiful day, and also read as you walk along with your child.
And I assume that's
something
weather
for
permitting.
Families, to enjoy. Yes, and weather permitting, of course.
And then, in addition, you mentioned STEM programs. What does that mean? You mentioned science, technology, engineering, and math, but what would that look like in a library? And again, I assume that does not involve 70, 80 kids, but a much smaller group.
Right. So there's a couple of different things that we're doing. So one of the program series is called Special Ops STEM, and that's an opportunity where teen volunteers that we're recruiting from the library, so these are high school students, teach science activities, facilitate sort of science experiments with younger children. So those are happening in the libraries this summer. And so that'll be an older teen teaching younger kids. That's one of our STEM program series. The other sort of big component is we have different workshops that are hands-on things. So a whole bunch of different topics, and we've got different groups coming in to host the programs in the different libraries, but there will be programs on a variety of different interests for kids of all ages.
Now, I know that your library is doing a little bit of a book club.
We are.
Right. Tell us what a library book club looks like.
Sure. So a library book club in the summertime is a more informal activity. It's not necessarily read this book and answer these questions like a school assignment would be. A lot of times we do have kids read the book in advance, but then they'll come and do activities that relate to the book. And our book club at Crooked Lake is for elementary grades. I believe it's grades 3 through 5.
You mentioned earlier, read down your finds. Could you just explain a little bit, and is that available for adults yet?
Unfortunately, no. You have to be 17 years of age or younger. But you can go into any library in Anoka County and talk to a librarian and get set up to read down your finds. So the way that it works is you sign in when you arrive at the library. For every 15 minutes that you read in the library, you get $1 off of your finds.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
So it's a good deal for kids.
And that's June and July.
Yes,
that they can
right.
do that as well. And then one other thing you mentioned was the whole idea they can write reviews. How does that work?
Sure. Yep. So for every book that a child reads, child or teen reads, they'll get a review sheet where they can either draw or write about their book. And on that review sheet is an entry form that goes into a random drawing that happens every week.
Okay.
And then library staff pulls winners every week from these drawings. And like I said, it's random, but the more that you read, the better chance you have to win a prize. And the prizes in the drawings are things like tickets to different experiences. So we have Minnesota State Fair tickets that are a prize. Bunker Beach passes are a prize, and then even Minnesota Twins game tickets are a prize.
Okay.
And the cool thing about those is that you don't just win one ticket if you win the drawing, it's like a family pack, so that not only can the child go for free to one of these events during the summer, but also mom or dad or sister or grandma can come to take them.
Okay. Now, I understand this year that it's going to be a little different in that the first time you win something, you win a book right away, as opposed to maybe in the past, that was one of the prizes you could win.
Right.
Why was the decision made to give every child a book for summer reading?
Well, there's a lot of reasons that we think that this is a great idea and we're excited about this as a change from the past. In the past, we had the book prizes as part of our random drawing, and we wanted to really emphasize the fact that books are very special, and also encourage children to be able to choose a book of their very own to take home as part of what the library does in encouraging reading. So, yes, the very first review that kids turn in, they get to choose a book right away, and then future entries go into the drawing.
And then what do you do with these reviews? Are they used in any way by the library?
They are, and we're looking forward to expanding how we've used those reviews so that kids' great artwork and writing can get exposed a little bit more to the community. So we're going to be sharing a lot of these entries on social media, the library's Facebook page, and other ways like that. And then they'll also be displayed in the different library buildings so that kids' work can be on display.
So the library has a Facebook page?
We do.
Okay.
We do.
And
yes.
also Twitter as well?
Yes.
Fantastic. And we can go to anokacountylibrary.org and find out that information. As a matter of fact, all of the programs I think you mentioned are going to be listed eventually on the library's website. People can just go.
Right. Yeah, we have a calendar of events on the library website, and you can search by the library building that you're interested in, or you can just search in general for a certain age, or just look at the calendar as a whole.
And I would assume that the larger buildings, Rum River and in Anoka and the Northtown Library in Blaine, might have a few more programs than maybe some of the smaller ones.
That's right. But we are excited that every single community library will be having a lot of things happening this summer.
Okay. And every library, if I remember correctly, as we talked about this, so there'll be these big performances in the off-site venues, and then the libraries may have some of those performers again in their buildings.
Yes.
And then there'll also be at least one science program, I believe, in every library.
And one teen program in every library.
Fantastic. And then the last thing I want to mention is, I wanted to ask, as parents are coming in, they may not know what to read. Who's going to help their kids find out what to read?
Library staff is always available to help with reading recommendations. So that's a service that we provide all year round, and definitely in the summer as well.
And I assume there's a lot of books read in the summer.
There are. Yep. Yep.
That's something we should probably track, is actually how many actual books are read during the summer, because it is a tremendous amount. And one of the reasons for this is that that Anoka County Library wants to make sure as kids keep reading, that's going to help them when they go back to school.
Right, that's a big part of our idea of summer reading is keeping kids reading for going into school the next year.
And that's all ages, right?
Yeah.
Up through teens. And one of the authors that children might be reading is locally based author John Coy. John recently stopped by the Rum River Library in Anoka to talk about his writing and why he visits schools and libraries. And the great thing we had about John is John, like the programs for Anoka County Library, writes everything. So he also talked a lot about picture books, and that's something libraries do a lot when we do preschool story time.
The three things I say are, number one, read, number two, read, number three, read. Just read like crazy. Should we read another story? And the thing that's interesting is I grew up in a family where we loved books. We would take long car trips, and sometimes if it was raining, we would just go to the library in whatever town we were, and then we were all free to go in the library and read whatever we want. But interestingly enough, nobody ever suggested the option of being an author. My mom never said it, my dad never said it. I never had a teacher say it. I never had a librarian say it. It was like the books came from somewhere else. And I think in a way, it was kind of one of those things where it wasn't even on the radar because we didn't have authors come into our classes then. And so it's one of the reasons I like talking with kids so much is they see, it's just some guy writing about basketball or driving around in a car. And I want kids to have the sense that, oh, I could do that. And I also have really been enjoying talking with kids about the idea that people pay money for stuff that you make up. And I ask kids, how many of you, would be interested in making up stuff and being paid for stuff you make up? And for a lot of kids, that's very interesting, and they don't even realize that's possible. But there are lots of people who get paid for making stuff up. And many of us who do that think it's just like unbelievable that that's a job. For doing a very nice job there. I love it. I just love it. And I love hanging around kids. I'm reminded of the Maurice Sendak line. He said, I like interesting people. And kids are interesting people. And I find them very interesting. This new book, which is about immigration, this has been very interesting to read with kids who are oftentimes immigrants themselves or their parents are. So that's been really nice to have. And I love working in the international schools because it's really an interesting mix of kids. One school I was in, they had kids from 60 different countries. And so you get some really interesting combinations. Do well in school, never give up. What's my favorite part of my job? There's two things. One, seeing a book and remembering what that book looked like, the first draft. Remembering that process of creating something that doesn't exist and putting it down on paper. And then seeing that as a book that other people enjoy. That is absolutely fascinating to me, how that occurs, and still has an element of being magical to me. And then the second is being invited places because I've written a book. Like coming to this library. I mean, I've never been at this library. It's a beautiful library here. Just seeing what's happening here. Same thing with being invited. Do you want to come to a school in Chennai, India? And by going to Chennai to a school, I'm not quite a tourist. I'm there in another role. And I absolutely love that. So whether it's coming here to the Rum River Library or going to Chennai, I love the invitations that come with creating a book. But there's still something so extraordinary to me about starting with an idea and working with words and then having that become a book. I think that's just an amazing process, and I'll always find that amazing process. Do you?
Yeah, books.
Oh, books. Lots of books. Lots of books. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think we're really striving to create lifelong learners and lovers of reading. So Storytime is a ton of fun, but we do focus on pre-literacy skills. So these are skills that will help kids as they grow and learn to begin to read. So as we are singing and talking, or even reading, writing, and playing, these things are all going to help those kids later on as they begin to read in school.
What's the letter on the board?
S.
S.
And what animal did we talk about today?
Squirrel.
Hey. Yeah, it's fun. Storytime is a fun thing to get out of the house. My boys are 5 and a half, and they didn't get into kindergarten early, and so they're really old to not be in school. And so anything that I can get out and do that's free is awesome. That's going to help them, you know, with their social skills and just furthering their education. Their education is really important to me, and since I feel like they're not behind. They're reading at 5, but it's important that I do everything that I can to, you know, to build an early educational base. So Storytime has been fabulous. We try to make it at least twice a week. And it does. I know that every time we pass the library, they actually say, "Look, it's our library." And so they do. They've already developed a certain sense of ownership over it. They always want to check out books. We got to get better about returning books, right, boys? But Storytime is fun because it gives us a regular place that we're coming. We've gotten to know a few of the librarians. So it is. It's really nice especially for kids who are pre-kindergarten, because they're, you know, a lot of the story times are during the day, so you get the young kids. It's fun.
3, right. 1, 2.
So we are focused on every child ready to read, and that is, it has the 5 components that we focus on mainly. So they are sing, talk, read, write, and play. And those are things that we try to incorporate into every story time. And what we're doing is trying to give parents and caregivers tools to take home after they're here in the library. So as they change a diaper, as they drive to the grocery store, if they're singing the wheels on the bus, these are things that are actually helping their children learn vocabulary, realize there are syllables and words, learn new words as they go throughout the day. So all of these things that we try to highlight in Storytime are meant to foster learning later on.
We know what she's going to say. You ready?
We like to come to the library and story times just to kind of break up the day and give us something fun to do around other kids, to have interaction. And it's fun for the kids to learn different songs and hear different stories, and kind of end up hearing about different books that you might not have seen on the shelf on your own and those kind of things. We go to all the different branches often. We live in Blaine, but we drive to the Mounds View branch, the Roseville branch, this branch. We go to all the branches everywhere, because all the different teachers for the story times are really great, and they all have a little bit of their own style and their own activities, and so it's kind of fun to see the different teachers and what they implement, and so we kind of like to get our way around to a variety of branches. We love the Minnesota libraries, and really appreciate how there's such a variety of activities always available for kids and families, and how the children's areas of the libraries are really, really fun, and they have lots of books and play areas, and we appreciate the libraries a lot.
All the story times here are free. One of the differences is that baby story time requires registration, and that's because we have a limited set of materials that we distribute and use throughout the story time. Then the differences within have to do with the repetition and the material. So baby story time in particular is going to have more repetition from week to week. We'll do the same opening song and closing song, little rhymes throughout the day that kids really learn to look forward to, and they get confident in doing these the same songs and finger plays throughout. The same applies to toddler a little bit as well, so they're going to start looking forward to the same songs and items. And then family has a little bit less repetition, probably more stories, potentially longer stories, because the children tend to be a little bit older. So baby goes up to 2 years, toddler is 2 to 3 years, and then family is all ages. So that's quite a different range for that story time.
songs, of course, because he only gets to listen to my songs. So it's nice to get him more exposed to other songs. But having time with other babies. We don't have a ton of other babies in our neighborhood or in our close friends right now. So yeah, getting him exposed to other babies' faces and noises and being in a room with more than me and Dad. So socialization, I would say, for sure.
Really enjoy giving him the chance to socialize with other kids similarly aged. And
he loves to read music, and it's just an important activity. Get him out of the house too. It's something different to do. Yeah. It's been a regular occurrence. We go to multiple different story times throughout the week, and we live very close, so we stop by here pretty often just to look through the books and play too.
Library is great. We love it. Loved it for years, and we'll continue to love it for years. And yes, so thank you to the library for this program and everything else.
The biggest part to convey is just that everyone is welcome, and we want you to come and try it out, and staff here is on the same page about being flexible. We understand if a toddler needs to leave the room and come back, because we want them to enjoy the experience, and then we try to make it fun at the end of the day. So picking stories that are going to be really entertaining, really funny, have a goofy song, a wacky dance. So we are learning, and we are focusing on guiding them in pre-literacy skills, but we really just want to have fun together as a whole.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Wake the sun, tell him that I've begun to dream of things to come, and tell the trees not to look for me. I'm going to find some peace of mind. Wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun, wake the sun.
The same tree? No. Psst, they're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
Welcome back. We're talking about summer reading at the Anoka County Library. Katlin, earlier you mentioned, we talked about how it might be different, a parent bringing their child in. One thing I think would be very different was all the different ways to read nowadays. What might children find at the Anoka County Library in terms of different reading formats?
Sure. So while the library has a lot of books, obviously, we have a lot of other things too, or different formats that you wouldn't traditionally think of as a book. So the library offers things like ebooks, and those are books that you would read on your phone or your tablet or your laptop or an e-reader device. We also have e-audiobooks. So again, something that you could put on your own device, but then listen to, like a traditional CD audiobook that the library might have. So we have sort of more digital format things, and we have materials in those formats for kids all the way up to adults. So the library offers a lot of different downloadable books that you can have. And then, yeah, it's things like music, movies, books on CD like I talked about, lots of different things, magazines. There's a wide variety of ways to read at the library during the summer.
And now you mentioned downloadables. I assume someone can just go to the library's website at anokacountylibrary.org, and it's fairly easy to do from there?
It is fairly simple, yeah. Yep, so on the library's website, we have a lot of help information and support info on the website that you can find. You can also call the library or stop in, and the librarian will help you get started with ebooks too.
Now, one of the big consumers of ebooks, and has really kind of helped spur the ebook revolution, are teenagers. So in addition to, you also mentioned support, so in addition to using the library during the summer, I understand that Anoka County Library has a very unique program for teenagers to contribute to the library. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I sure can. So especially during the summer, but all year round, Anoka County Library uses a lot of teens takes advantage of the effort that teens will contribute to the library as volunteers. So we recruit a lot of teens from our local middle school and high schools, and they do a lot of things for us during the summer. So things like helping kids learn about the summer reading program, helping around the library, running programs, like I mentioned with the teen volunteers that do our STEM programs for kids, and then also supporting library staff in other ways. So it's a great program in terms of what teen volunteers can contribute to their community as part of being involved at the library, and it's also great because it supports the other work that we're doing too. So it's really a win-win. One thing that we like about having a lot of teen volunteers during the summer is that it's great for building career skills. So these are job skills that teens are building as they show up in their community and help people, their neighbors, their friends, use the library and learn more about how the library works.
And part of that job skill is filling out an application online, because all teenagers have to do, again, is go to anokacountylibrary.org, and there's a place where it says volunteer, and they can choose either to be a regular volunteer and fill out the application, or to be one of these STEM volunteers.
That's right.
Now, while children and teens can start reading and doing all of this on June 1st, because of the different school schedules, kind of the first big kickoff event is actually at your library on June 13th, Monday, June 13th. What will be happening there?
We're having a big kickoff event for summer reading at the Crooked Lake Library on June 13th. And the reason we scheduled it that day is because Anoka-Hennepin schools don't let out until shortly before that. So for our kickoff event, we're having a story walk, like we talked about, set up outside on our lawn. We'll also have a lot of games and activities set up outside for families to take part in, and then information about summer reading and recruiting those teen volunteers.
And then the next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are the first big events at the off-site venues we mentioned earlier, Anoka Crooked Lake High School, Blaine High School, and Bunker Beach. And those, I believe, continue through June, and then there's a few more in July, and then the whole summer reading program wraps up in August.
That's right.
Right, fantastic. Well, that's the time we have today. Thank you for joining us as Let's Go to the Library. For any more information about summer reading or anything happening at the Anoka County Library, simply visit the library's webpage at anokacountylibrary.org.